How's it going, everyone? So Duskbloods was announced earlier this week at the Nintendo Direct Switch 2 edition. So I just want to go over what's this game about, what's going on, because it really caught my eye, but I had no clue what this game was. And they released an interview with Miyazaki, and we're just going to go over that and see what this game is. So without further ado, let's get it. All right, here we go. There's 3 parts to this, so let's get to it. This is the introduction to Miyazaki. So let's go down here. A while back, we had an opportunity to meet with the Nintendo to discuss ideas, and during this discussion, we presented a rough outline of the Duskbloods. It was a very bare bones at the time, more a loose string of ideas than a proper presentation. The concept itself was different from anything we had done before. The Nintendo seemed very interested in helping make it a reality. So that's how the project kicked off. At first, it was being worked on by a small team as a title for the Nintendo Switch. However, just as the game started to take shape, we were approached by the Nintendo with talk of Switch 2, which led us to revamp the development path with the new hardware in mind. That's probably a plus, because if this game came out for the Switch, it would have been rough. The new hardware's focus was online features allowed us to stay as true as the original visions as possible, which was a very good news for us. I'm sure they could have kicked it with PlayStation 5. I wonder if they presented this to the PlayStation. I wonder if they did. Let's go. It sounds like the game differs from most of your previous titles. Can you give us a little more details as what type of game it is? In terms of structure, we considered it a PvP PvE title. At its core, it's an online multiplayer focused game with both player versus player and player versus enemy gameplay. An acronym, okay, we already know what that means. They always have the desire to make a PvP VE type game. Yes, I've always found the PvP PvE structure very interesting. It allows for a broad range of game design ideas while also letting us leverage our experience of designing challenging enemy encounters. I wonder if they, off the cuff of this, of creating this, they thought, hey, let's just make Blood Rain, which is like a battle royale type version of this game. I wonder if they thought in just a PvE version of this. I wonder if they thought of that and they're like, let's just go with that. As a side note, please allow me to address one thing. As previously mentioned, this is an online multiplayer title at its core, but doesn't mean that we as a company have decided to shift to a more multiplayer focused direction with titles going forward. They should, man. At least have an option. The Nintendo Switch version of Elden Ring was also announced, and we still intend to actively develop single-player focused games just as this that embrace a more traditional style. They should do both. I think Blood Rain is really gonna be the version of, do people love this? Do people hate this? Do people want more of this? I think that's where that direction is going. And this game, see how it does. Nintendo Switch 2 software planned for a release in 2025. Elden Ring is a fantasy action RPG set in a massive open world. What? Where you develop your character according to your playstyle. Oh, so we have classes. Tell us about the game's characters and setting. The game's protagonists or characters controlled by the player are known as Bloodsworn. The Bloodsworn are a group of those members who achieve superhuman abilities through the power of special blood. As a general concept, they're similar to vampires, but they are not portrayed as the horrifying monsters you might associate with traditional vampirism. We tried to extract the sort of romantic aspects we found interesting in the concepts, such as vampires and blood, reinterpreted them as the Bloodsworn. So they're like hot vampires. Are most vampires depicted as that though in centuries? In the Duskbloods, the Bloodsworn are competing for something known as the First Blood. As human society reaches an end, the First Blood flows in an event known as the Twilight of Humanity. The Bloodsworn are summoned to the Twilight of Humanity across a variety of different times and places in a bid to obtain First Blood. Due to this, there is no fixed era or location in which the Duskbloods takes place. That's pretty cool. There are more traditional Gothic or Victorian style maps as well as those depicted in the closer years of early modern period, like the one glimpsed in the trailer with a train running through it. Oh yeah, look at that. Old style cars. Like early 1900s. The Duskbloods directly refers to the Bloodsworn themselves. As mentioned earlier, the Bloodsworns are summoned to the Twilight of Humanity in a battle for First Blood. Duskbloods is a collective term for these characters controlled by the player. It sounds like blood plays a pretty big role in this game. Yes, in the context of this game, blood is used more conceptually as opposed to literal meaning like physical depictions of injury. Blood symbolizes one of the game's key themes, the history it holds, the power it passes on, the fates it weaves, and a maker of those who have surpassed the limitations of their own humanity. Damn. They went in with that one. All right, let's see part 2. Superhuman abilities and opportunistic behavior. What are some characteristics of Bloodsworn? There are several reasons we put the player's focus on the Bloodsworn, which one of those being character's actions. The Bloodsworn possesses superhuman abilities thanks to the special blood. To their actions are more dramatic than anything seen in previous titles. What? It'll be pretty cool to see if it's crazier than Sekiro or crazier than, I want to say, Night Rain. Even basic character actions in such games such as sprinting, super jump, and double jump are designed to be dynamic and stress-free, and they're complemented by each character's own unique weapons and ability, allowing for a wide range of creativity. Also, and while this isn't directly related to the Bloodsworn themselves, the setting allows for the depiction of firearms and such, and every character is equipped with some means to attacking from a distance. Oh, nice. I feel that this is one of the game's unique aspects for when compared to with our previous titles. I hope that these new action elements are one area that players will enjoy. I mean, they did have like weapons and guns in Bloodborne, no? Like that was your parry mechanic. It wasn't meant to deal a bunch of damage. So I wonder if it's going to be like a higher damage dealer in this game. We'll see. Earlier you referred to the protagonist or characters as plural. Does this mean the player will be able to choose from multiple different characters? Yes, there are over a dozen characters for the player to choose from, each of their own identity and appearance. I think there are a lot of unique elements to the character design and the weapons they use, so hopefully players can find one or two favorites among them. Also, each character can be customized to a certain extent, allowing players to the fun of building a character that feels like their own. Nice. So if there's a class that you like, you can edit them in a way. I wonder if you could do like their physical appearance or just their face and body, and they just have that like prototype like set list. I wonder, can you provide some more detail on the general gameplay loop? The game has a so-called hub area where players can choose their character, customize them, and enter online multiplayer. Online multiplayer supports up to 8 players upon concluding an online match. Players then return to the hub, at which point they receive some sort of reward whether they win or lose. Using these rewards, players can further customize their character, and so the cycle continues. So it's kind of like a Night Rain, but just minus the PvP action, because that's what Blood Rain doesn't have. Online matches are generally last player standing. However, there are certain cases where victory conditions differ. For example, players may be tasked with teaming up to take down a powerful boss enemy or find themselves in other special circumstances. So victory conditions are influenced not just by PvP results, but PvE results as well. That's right. Some victory conditions are centered around defeating a boss enemy. So victory conditions are influenced not just by PvP results, but PvE results as well. That's right. Some victory conditions center around defeating a boss enemy. So just like Night Rain, I can't think of many examples with this rule set. It sounds very interesting. I'm happy to hear you say that. Regardless of whether it's PvP or PvE, the idea is to provide players with the experience that allows them to learn and hone their skills as they play. They're therefore designed for the PvE boss encounters to present a tough challenge in the sense of accomplishment upon defeating them. That's pretty cool. Like if all the characters on the map are focused on beating like a huge boss and they working together instead of just having to like fight one another. I think it's pretty cool. So players can also enjoy improving their own skills over time as they battle. Yes, although there are a variety of elements in place that keep the game from becoming too stoic. For example, how players conduct themselves during the match is just as important as a direct combat. The Duskbloods implement victory points which are responsible for ultimately deciding the outcome of the match. To obtain the victory points, direct combat is of course important, but it's not the only way. Some players may prefer to earn points by avoiding direct combat and instead engaging in more opportunist behavior. How you earn points is entirely up to you. Additionally, each character can summon an an entity to assist in battle, giving players a high degree of freedom when it comes to how they fight and win. What? I'm wondering if it's just like an 8-player battle royale, or you actually can team up with people. That's the question I'm wondering. Another important aspect is match variables such as the event system. The systems has the potential to alter the course of the match, such as special enemy spawns and additional objectives with accompanying bonus rewards. In the trailer, you might have noticed a giant stone face looming in the sky. This is one example of events that may occur in the match. In this case, the appearance of this stone face affects the environment and changes match rewards, which can have an immediate impact on players' motivations and objectives. These events don't happen all the time, and I hope discovering them gives players some incentive to keep coming back. That's pretty cool. It sounds like even those who tend to shy away from PvP can still enjoy themselves. That was the intention. I personally am not much of a PvP person. I want to make something that's satisfying even for players like me. While the goal of a match is to obtain first blood, there's personal objectives and provide separate rewards to those players as well. So I hope these add fun to each engagement. All right, last one, guys. Playing the roles and altering fates. What other ways my players enjoy the game outside of combat? One thing I love doing in this game I direct is leaving fragments of lore and world building details, allowing the players to have fun using their imagination to make connections. The Duskbloods is no exception of this. However, we're gone about it a little differently from previous titles. The fragments this time are found in the previously mentioned character customization items. Oh, so, okay. I mean, they did that before, right? Their blood history and fate. Customizing a character will reveal a piece of information regarding the world and its unfolding story. You customize their blood history and fate. Yes, analyzing and altering the character's blood history and fate allows the players to customize all sorts of things, from their abilities, appearance, and inner characteristics to the role they play in the world and relationships with other characters. Focusing these elements on the concept of blood or blood history and fates allowed for a deeper exploration of customization, and is another reason we place the Bloodsworn as the protagonist. Do you mind sharing any other points you find personally interesting? One area I haven't talked about yet is roles. In the online play, roles give players special responsibilities and objectives that often lead to unique interactions and relationships between players based on their corresponding roles. That's probably not much info to go on, so allow me to provide a few examples. But please note we're still finalizing some of these naming and details. For example, if a player possesses the destined rivals role, another player is designated as their rival, and they are tasked with finding and defeating that player. Doing so counts to achieving a personal goal separated from the overall victory condition. Another example is a destined companion, where one player is required to seek out another designated as their companion, which results in a special reward if they form a bond with one another. Roles can be assigned to any character via blood customization, allowing players to enjoy role-playing in a literal sense and hopefully adding to the drama of these engagements. Kind of like how players can pick roles in a tabletop RPG. Exactly. While not entirely intentional, it may reflect my own interest a bit. It might seem a little unorthodox at first, but I hope players will give it a try. That reminds me, I'm very curious about the winged rat character seen in the trailer. Can you provide some details as what role this character serves? The character shares a similar role with the Firekeepers from the Dark Souls series. They remain in the hub area, providing the player with advice and guidance. I suppose you could say we tried something different and a little Nintendo-esque in the spirit of the partnership. What do you mean by that? We tried something cute for a change, although I will say that the character is actually an elderly gentleman. Is there something else that you'd like to say before we finish? In addition to creating the PvPvE title, we've tried our hand at introducing a lot of new and interesting ideas in Duskbloods, from superhuman player actions, a free-form combat approach, and gameplay that's dynamic and dramatic, romanticizing aesthetics of the Bloodsworn, deep character customization, and fragmentary storytelling. I think there's a lot to appreciate and enjoy in this title, and I sincerely hope players look forward to it. Look at this. I think it's this. I appreciate these pictures. I love it. So let me know what you guys think. So I guess we're gonna get long range and short range weapons. It seems like it's gonna be kind of like what it came to mind is like the events in like Fortnite where there's like huge events. Players can team up to fight for one cause and then ultimately start fighting each other again. But it doesn't seem like that's the only way that you can win or get the most points out of each run. So if you're not a big PvP fan, you can still do your side objectives and still get like rewarded for it. You don't have to get like winner chicken dinner or get the last blood. That's pretty cool. I didn't expect it. I thought this was going to be a story, but it's more like Night Rain. It's Night Rain with character customization and this gothic-esque world. I'm about it. What do you guys think? What do you guys take away from this interview? What do you guys think of the game now that you know more of it? Let me know in the comments below. Still excited about this game. I probably wait to get a Switch 2. Maybe when this game comes out, hopefully it's like mid next year and not early next year. We'll see. Because we still got Night Rain. I think they'll probably see how Night Rain does and maybe make some changes to this game. But 12 characters that you could choose from and you could customize. I'm sure that you could customize them by getting rewards for each run. Maybe you'll get different colors. Maybe you'll get different cosmetic sets, stuff like that. But we shall see. Love you guys. It's good to know what this game is about. I didn't expect a PvP VE game when I first saw this game. I thought it was going to be like another story-driven game, maybe like a co-op adventure going through a story. We'll see. Love you guys to pieces. They just need to make a game that it's based on a story and you can play with multiple characters all the way through and not have to desync and resync, and both progressions of each person going through the story progresses as well. They don't have to go back and do it all for themselves again. That's just my 2 cents how From Software is like does multiplayer, but this seems like they're really diving in on multiplayer and that co-op feel from it. So we'll see. Love you guys to pieces. Thank you for all the support. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Like I said, thank you for all the support. Give a like, give a subscribe if you enjoyed. Until next time, peace. Oh yeah.